But in the kingdom, we're going to have that power like the angels, but we're going to be what you call extraterrestrial. In other words, we're not going to be regular terrestrial like we are right now. Because what happened is, in the ancient world, we had that power. We had that power when we were on the level like gods. But what happened is the Most High took that power from us. Over the generations and over the years, the Lord took that power from us. But we're going to get that back. We're going to get that power back coming into the kingdom.
I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
But in the kingdom, we're going to have that power like the angels, but we're going to be what you call extraterrestrial. In other words, we're not going to be regular terrestrial like we are right now. Because what happened is, in the ancient world, we had that power. We had that power when we were on the level like gods. But what happened is, the Most High took that power from us. Over the generations and over the years, the Lord took that power from us. But we're going to get that back. We're going to get that power back coming into the kingdom.
I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rekakadash, double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rekakadash. Push them get up out of here. Shalom to the whole collective believers and listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. All right. I just want to go into a lesson, entitled It's Time for the Kingdom, And this lesson was inspired by, the beautiful brother out of Houston, the brother Chandler Spirit Temple too. All right, Korah Abad. The brother did a lesson dealing with, he's just ready for this to be over, and that's the sentiment, that we naturally develop in this truth, and we begin to thirst for righteousness. One thing about the truth, it gives us a appetite, for righteousness, to where as we rehearse the righteous acts, amongst each other, even in our day-to-day, the way that the Spirit has us moving, we see, that this is the way to be. The Lord gave us an inkling, because the kingdom starts with us amongst each other, and as we learn how to deal and build, grow, all right, amongst each other, we see, okay, this is far better than anything that we ever tried. You know, righteousness is far greater, okay, than anything of this world. You see? And it's time for a righteous kingdom because this world only gets worse. You know, the people get worse, the food get worse. Okay. You know, even entertainment, you know, gets worse. Okay. Everything gets worse in this society, man. You know, the families get worse. Everything you can think of, all right, that's meant to forward life, it gets worse in this setup, you know? And the only thing left, you know, as we teach his word is for the Lord, all right, to bring judgment, you see, and usher in the kingdom. Only thing left is judgment in the kingdom, you see. That's the only thing left for this society, man. And the Lord is allowing the society, you know, to reach a certain point, you know, before their judgment hit, man. But that's the only thing left. You know, that's the only thing left for this age is just straight judgment. And that's why the spirit, all right, the Lord has put the spirit on Esau, all right, to start to go all out. Okay. So let's go here. Because as we know, this man gets closer to his new world order, he's closer to his end. You know, this is Matthew 5:5 said, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. You know, and one thing about the truth, it humbles us down. It's a constant humbling. You know, it's a constant humbling. You see, because we're being prepared, all right, to inherit the earth, man. But we're going to inherit the earth in meekness. Okay, we're going to be, you know, stern, righteous rulers, but at the same time, there's going to be a layer of meekness and humility, you know, at our core. You know, so this truth is also adding the quality of meekness unto us, man. You know, which is humility, you know, understanding, you know, that there's a higher power responsible for everything. Okay, there's a higher power that's making this possible. Okay, understanding the sacrifice of Yahweh shall understand that it's bigger than us, being considerate, you know, of our former, our Israelite brother, okay, our Israelite nation. You see, being considerate of the earth. So we're learning the meekness of rulership, you know, within this captivity. We're learning, you know, to be humble at our core. All right. We learn that, I say, be nation mind, think about fellow Israelites, is what I wanted to say. You see, verse 6 said, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Yeah, because I say the truth, and the truth, we develop a thirst for righteousness, man, an appetite for righteousness, man. You know, in the world, our appetite was our lust, you know, the moment, you know, of feeling, you see. But now there's a thirst for righteousness, man. Okay, amongst what the hopeful elect. You know, and said, for they shall be filled, which means, well, we're going to be satisfied with what Yahweh Shai is getting ready to bring to the earth, man. We're not going to be disappointed. You know, the kingdom is not going to be a disappointment in any fashion, man. You know, we're going to be satisfied with the righteousness that Yahweh Shai is getting ready to set up in the earth, man. You know, it's going to be an earth where we don't have to tiptoe to be righteous, man. Okay? You don't have to, you know, tiptoe not to offend wickedness in this world. Okay? It's going to be a world with a righteous standard, and we're going to have the ability, you know, authority to judge in righteousness, man. Okay? To help Yahweh Shai maintain the earth in righteousness, man. That's what it's time for, man. Okay? like the brother said in the video, man, he want to help Yahweh Shai maintain righteousness in the earth forever, man. You know, and it's getting to that time. It ain't too much left. Like I said, it ain't too much left that these heathens can do, man. Okay? The Lord has pushed these men to the end of their rope. Okay? There's nothing left to do but for Esau to fall off the cliff. Okay? So let's go here. Because we know Yahweh Shai was reading. You know, you go into the scripture, you see Yahweh Shai. You know, he was because that's the material they had was the Old Testament, but Yahweh Shai was heavy, you know, quoting the Old Testament when you go into a lot of his sermons and parables. Now let's go here. This is Psalms 37:9 said, for evildoers shall be cut off, Okay, and this devil is getting ready to be cut off in power. You see, and that's part of the comfort of the good news, knowing that the devil, okay, have a short time, knowing that he's limited, okay, and knowing that our power is going to cut this man from power, and then he's going to cut this man from the earth after 1,000 years. Okay, so Esau's reign is short. Okay, it's been wicked, it's been very disruptive, but it's going to be short. You see, but those who wait upon the Lord Yahweh Shemal Shah, they shall inherit the earth. You see, they shall inherit the earth, man. We're really getting the earth, man, and the earth needs, all right, a reset, man. Okay, this man is killing the earth. You see, and even that's another thing in the truth, man. The truth makes us very considerate of the planet Earth itself, man, the creation. You know, and the Lord's going to allow us to inherit it, man. You see, to get things back in order. You see, the earth was made to flourish and give forth abundance, and it was meant to promote people to be all right, fruitful, multiply, man. In this society, man, you see, you got such thing called a childless economy, man. You know, I say it often, but goddamn, it shows you. And see, there ain't no one cares about that. That's the thing in this world, man. There's only a few people that care about how jacked up it really is, man. Not just because our personal situation jacked up. No, man, we're talking about the whole system, the whole rulership, what it's doing to the earth, what it's doing to people. Okay, what it's done to our people, man. Okay, for the foremost, man. You see, there's only a few people that's really concerned about that, man. You know, and those are all right, the people who the Lord's going to put in rulership, man. Okay. Verse 10 it says, for yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yeah. It says, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. Yes. So this devil, you know, he has a limited time. Okay. He has a limited time. You see? And the Lord's going to get ready to end this, man. All right. And it's going to come to a time where we're going to say, thou shalt diligently consider his place. Well, what his place is, he's a ruler right now. Esau's a ruler, you know, but it's going to come a time we're going to diligently consider his place, which means he's not going to have that place of rulership. Okay. And even in captivity, man, Esau, hey, it's going to be like he never ruled the earth, man. When this man goes into captivity, it's going to be like he never ruled the earth. You know, when he's in captivity for a while, it's going to be like this man never had power in the earth, man. You know, and when he's done away with, man, he's going to be something to be forgotten. Okay, verse 37 said, "But the meek shall inherit the earth and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace, man." You know, Esau's in the way of peace, man. You can't enjoy the simple things of the earth, man, because like it ain't about being, you know, having millions of tons of gold, you know, exotic animals and the exotic landscape and you know the luxury palaces, man. You know, which those are perks of rulership, but beyond that, man, just the simplicity, man. You know, to be able to watch your sons and daughters enjoy the earth in peace, man. Your wife to have everything she need, okay, and everything she want. All right, your wives, man. You see, for you to be able to bring life into the earth with no stress. Okay, you don't even have to consider death, or you know, because most of the time, especially men, you know, responsibility. You spend most of your time, all right, trying to get things in order. Okay, preparing for your death, man. While you living, you're preparing for your death, man. We're not gonna have that anymore, man. You see? Nah, man, we're gonna get to enjoy abundance of peace, man. Okay, peace. You just gonna be. You see? If man, as a man, you have the authority, okay, to run your house. all right, in righteousness, man. You see? So nah, man, it's time for the kingdom, man. This ain't it. This ain't for us, man. You know, that's another thing that truth constantly shows us, man. This ain't for us, man. This setup, this system trying to operate by the system of the devil, trying to play these stupid games. Everything's a scheme and a scam. Okay, everybody's manipulating, and it's like, nah, man, damn this, man. This ain't for us, man. This society ain't for for the righteous, man. You know, what scripture say, he that departed from evil, making himself a prey, man. Even if you just don't participate in the wickedness, man, you become an outcast here. Okay? You need to be watched. You see? But now, man, the kingdom, our families, like I said, our wives, our children, you know, the nation, our brothers gonna be good, man. Get to see your house shot, get to enjoy the fruits, of his labors, man. The Heavenly Father will, going forth in the earth. Okay, in righteousness, man. His son's ruling the earth in righteousness, man. Okay, finally perfected. You see? So, man, we just got, so much, all right, to look forward to, man. So let's go here. Y'all get this in Philippians. We get this Philippians 3 and on 13. It said, not as though I had already attained, either were already perfect, but I follow after that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay, so we haven't attained, perfection. We haven't attained the kingdom. It's still a fight. It's still a fight of endurance, man. Okay, fighting the old man. Okay, fighting, stay in the spirit, to stay in the faith. Okay, it's still a fight. So we're not perfected. We're not in our rest, man. We're fighting to get to that rest, man. Okay, so we can apprehend, which is to lay hold. Okay, but we're apprehended by Yahushua HaMashiach. We're a possession of Yahushua in his life, man. We belong to the Lord, and more, the Lord is requiring more of us, man, and that's for our benefit, man. Okay, because what time like ever before should we be tapped in? Okay, because our faith gonna have to be unmovable, man. You see, it said, brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but there's one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before, man. And there's nothing to look back at. Okay, there's nothing to look back at, man. Okay, this place has nothing for us, man, and everything that we left has gotten worse. And we're in the spirit, man. The spirit has us moving in one direction, the world moving in a completely opposite, man. To where that old world, that old way of thinking, it becomes out of sight. Okay, we become unfamiliar with a lot of things, that we used to be obsessed with, man. Because we're obsessing over something else. We're obsessing over something higher. You see, we're obsessing over something higher, man. To where it's pointless. Like it wouldn't even make sense to look back. Look back at what? Look back at who? Why? What the hell? Why go backwards when the Lord has us on the path, okay, to a righteous kingdom, man? And the Lord's showing us we're on the path, man. There will be crazy. You got a righteous eternal kingdom, man. Ain't nothing behind us but death. Okay? Death and rebellion, man. Go 14 says, I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of the Most High in Yahushua HaMashiach. And I looked at this word high the other day. So you get the word high, all right, or nah, which means, okay, so you go to this one. It says additional information from the outline of biblical usage. Okay, it says in Galatians 4:26, the word could refer to either place or time, i.e., place of Jerusalem, which is above in the heavens time, the eternal Jerusalem, which precede the earthly one. Okay, the eternal Jerusalem, okay, which precedes the earthly one. You go into Jerusalem, all right, it's a people. You see, because it's the people that's going to be changed, okay, and planted back in their land, okay, in their region where Jerusalem is in Israel. And we're going to have, their whole blessing, man. It's going to be, all right, with Esau trying to do his greater Israel project. No, the Lord has a true greater Israel project with the true Israelites, man. Okay? How you be greater Israel, you're not even Israel. Okay? No, the Lord got a true, all right, greater Israel project, man. He's finna change his people to immortals and put them back in their land. Okay? And it's gonna be eternal. You see, this time we're gonna be eternal. You see, because we've been in the land, but we wasn't perfected. Okay? Now we're coming into a time where the Lord is getting ready to perfect his people, man. Let's go here. Beginning with a remnant. Let's go here to Hebrews 11. Let me see what's saying. So this is Hebrews 11 and 8. The mindset of our forefathers, man. Even our foremother Sarah. Okay, this is Hebrews 11 and 8. It says, let me see. It says by faith, all right, he lived as a foreigner. Well, starting at 8, so like it says, Hebrews 11:8 said, by faith, Abraham, when he was called by the Most High, obeyed by going to a place which he was to receive as an inheritance, and he went, not knowing where he was going. Because when we first heard the truth, man, we didn't fully understand everything that was going on. Okay, but the peace of what we heard, man, it drew us in, and we began to follow Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Abraham, he had to separate from his family and follow the Lord, and was obedient to the Lord. You see? So we come in the stead of Abraham to where we have to leave, our old way. Okay? We leave, like some was, all right, separated from the family. We don't see him as much. We're not around as much, because we began to follow the Lord. Okay? And we didn't fully understand, everything that was going on when we first came. We matured into that. We constantly maturing into more understanding. You see, getting more clarity, man. But we began to move. We began to be active. We began to stop, following Christianity, stop following pagan holidays. So we had started moving before we even fully understood what we was part of, man. And that was the spirit of the Lord. Verse 9 says, by faith, he lived as a foreigner in a promised land, all right, in the promised land, and as in a strange land, living in tents as nomads, all right, with Isaac and Jacob, who were fellow heirs of the same promise. You see that, showing you that the promise goes to Isaac and Jacob, and this is before, the birth of Isaac and Jacob, all right, well, they was in the loins of Abraham. You see? The heirs of the same promise, Isaac and Jacob, showing you who the promises are for, man. And we're the descendants of who? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, well, it says he was in the promised land as a strange land because why? He had an expectation of something better, even though he was in the promised land. All right, he was technically in the land. All right, he had made it to the land. You see, he had a hope in something, all right, eternal. You see, he had an expectation even beyond, just being in the land at that moment. He knew there was something greater. Okay, verse 10, it said, "For he was waiting expectantly and confidently, looking forth to the city which has foundation, an eternal heavenly city, whose architect and builder is the Most High." Okay, so he was looking up to another glory. Okay, Abraham was looking, into another glory, man. He wasn't content. You see, he knew that it was something far better. He knew it was something far greater based on those promises, man. Okay, let me see. Look this up real quick. Just look it up real quick. Yeah, so let's go here real quick, just to tap into the history. Just look. So when you go to all right, real quick, it says, yes, Abraham lived in the promised land for many years as a traveler or nomad, but he did not personally own or inherit it during his lifetime. He lived in tents and acted as a stranger in the land promised to his descendants, ultimately owning only a burial site for his wife, Sarah. Okay? So he was in the promised land, all right, but he wasn't an inheritor, but he was looking forward, okay, to something better, another glory. You see? So he was there, but his mind was on a whole nother glory, man. Just like our mind now, it's on another glory, man. And the scripture said, "Will be ye pilgrims on the earth." A pilgrim is someone passing through, okay, on their way to a particular location. You see? And see, with us, we're traveling home. We're pilgrims traveling home. It said Moses was like a traveler or nomad. Okay? Because it wasn't their time. Well, now we're in that time where that land, all right, as we're as pilgrims in the spirit, some of us going to have to be actual pilgrims during the tribulation. Okay? What the mindset is, okay, this ain't our rest anyway. We got another glory. We got expectation beyond our current little situation, man. Okay? And it's all rooted in faith in Yahweh Shema Shah and the promises, man. You know? So let's go here. All right, Hebrews 11 and 10. It said, For he was waiting expectantly and confidently, looking forward to the city which has foundation, an eternal heavenly city, whose architect and builder is the Most High. By faith, even Sarah herself received the ability to conceive a child, and when she was long past the normal age for it, because she considered him who had given her the promise to be reliable and true to his word. Okay? So even Sarah, all right, she had the spirit, to trust the process. And we all gotta trust the process too, man. That's another thing. The truth is instilling patience in us, man, to where, hey, we gotta trust the process, man. The Lord gotta figure it out. As we mature in this thing, man, we stop chasing and trying to force it. Nah, man, now's the thing about letting the Lord do. All right, what he gonna do? Trust the Lord got to figure it out. We trust the process, man. We just gonna, deal with what the Lord put right in front of us, man. And We're going to deal with, all right, tasks, that we've been tasked with the assignment, okay? And let the Lord play everything else out, man. The Lord got it worked out. The Lord got this thing figured out, man. You see, that's another thing because this captivity, it makes us have to be so hands-on just to survive, to where we have to, try to control every aspect of every situation, but then we learn to trust our power, serve him, do what we gotta do as adults with obligations, and let the Lord do what he gonna do, man. You see? So let's go from there. Oh yeah, I want to get this in the GMT real quick. So when you go here, let's get this in say second Esdras 14, but we'll get it in the GMT. Yeah, it's time for the kingdom, man. There's nothing to desire, to have an expectation for, man. It's time for the kingdom. It's time for righteousness to be the standard in the earth, Uh, so your second Esdras. All right, this is the book of second Esdras, chapter 14. Let's see. We start at 13, second Esdras 14 and 13. It says, so set your house in order, warn your people, comfort those who are humble, and teach those who are wise. Comfort those who are humble and teach those who are wise. Okay, and that's what we're here to do, and that's what the focus is on, man. Those that are like-minded, those who, have an expectation beyond this world as we do, man. That's the focus, man. We address particular things and we defend, the gospel, of course, man. Okay. But the main thing is not arguing with these niggas, man. Trying to make niggas get it, trying to make, people get the truth. Nah, man. Most of our time is spent building up those that are like-minded. Okay, so then say goodbye to this mortal life, man. We finna say goodbye to this mortal life, man. To being immortal. We finna say goodbye to being immortal, man. Hey, the Lord's doing big things, man. We got big things to look forward to, man. Okay, verse 14, put earthly cares away from you, man. Put earthly cares away from us, man. Because this earth that you trying to how you wound up and bound and held hostage by shit that don't matter. Things that don't mean nothing. Okay? Satan to try to make the smallest things mean everything, man. A lot of these things don't mean nothing, man. Okay? A lot of this shit is an illusion, man. Esau has created that's why I say you don't need the metaverse, man. Okay, the earth is already a goddamn virtual reality metaverse, man. Fake as hell, man. Okay? Synthetic as hell, man. You see? So as we awaken to the truth, man, hey, a lot of things shouldn't mean much to us, man. The things of this world, man, come on. Verse 14 said, put earthly cares away from you, throw down your human burdens, and lay aside your weak human nature, man. Now we finna be immortals, man. We finna be gods in the earth, man. We begin to think different and move different. You see? And Yahushua already, Hey, has a place. He said he go to prepare a place, man. Yahweh shot decking out other planets. Okay, that's another thing. Say, think big, man. Dream big, expect big, man. It said, verse 15, he said, put all your anxieties aside and get ready to leave this world quickly. And get ready to leave this world quickly. You see, put all your anxieties aside and get ready to leave this world quickly. You see, leave this world behind. You know, and the cares that go along with it, the anxieties that go along with this world, man. Okay? And the Lord has us shedding these anxieties now, man, to where we're becoming numb. We don't care about most things, man. You know? Things of this world, the things that everything to everyone else, man, they mean nothing to us, man. You know? So, yeah, man, hey, it's time to, hey, it's time for the kingdom, man. It's time for righteousness, man. It's time for the throne of David to be established, man. The tribes to be united, ruling the earth in righteousness, man. You know, that's the time we in, man. That's the only thing left. It's the only thing that makes sense. Okay? Is a righteous kingdom take over this wicked kingdom, man. That's the only thing that makes sense to sum everything up, man. You know? So that was the point. We leave it there, Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you few sisters edified. Till next time I say shalom. Going by Shalom, a Bible, soon, shalom.